Welcome into A to Z Sports. I'm Austin Stanley. He's Zach Bingham. Follow us on Twitter at A to Z Sports and like our Facebook page at A to Z Sports Nashville. Normally at 8 Central Time on weekdays, we go live on Periscope and Facebook Live. But if you're watching this at 8 o'clock, I'm on an airplane flying to Dallas, and then I'll drive in a rental car for 3 hours to College Station. Probably should have flown to Houston and then driven like an hour and a half to College Station. But we went direct to Dallas, and now we have a 3-hour drive to
very complicated.
Yeah,
it
I know.
sounds
Should have flown to Houston, but I'm flying to Dallas. So we give you this video because we can't go a week without giving you our college football picks and our Titans picks. So we have 7 college football games. We're going to pick every SEC game and then end with the Titans at Dolphins, possibly in Hurricane Matthew, possibly in Nashville.
Just possibly. And there's a lot of things going on the East Coast where games may be moved. So should be a very intriguing weekend there in Florida, South Carolina, etc.
We're going to start in Texas at the game that I'll be attending, Tennessee at Texas A&M, number 9 in the country, Tennessee. Both undefeated at number 8, A&M. College game day is going to be there. A&M is a 6.5-point favorite in this game. Zach, I'll let you start this one off.
All right, I will start. And unfortunately, I believe that Tennessee's undefeated streak comes to an end. And I think that Tennessee is going to win the East. They did their job by beating Florida and then beating Georgia with the Hail Mary last week. But I don't think they can beat Texas A&M in College Station. I think this Texas A&M team is just a completely revamped team. Yeah. They've got speed on the outside, which they've always had, but now they have speed on the outside defensively within their cornerbacks and their secondary. Myles Garrett, though a little hobbled by injury, I think that he will be okay. He won't be 100%, but he can still rush the passer. The big thing is Kevin Sumlin has learned something, and they've started 5-0 the last 3 years, and the year before that, they were 5-1 in their first 6 weeks. So they're used to starting out well,
right?
But now they have Trevor Knight, and he's an experienced quarterback that I think is going to take this game over, and I think their high-powered offense will outduel Tennessee's offense because I don't think Josh Dobbs and company can keep up and put the amount of points needed to win this game.
Well, A&M has 2 dudes that almost average a first down every carry. Travion Williams averages 9 yards a carry, and quarterback Trevor Knight is like 7.8 yards a carry. I don't think Tennessee's defense is fast enough. I think the 2 injuries at linebacker with Reeves-Maben and Kirkland both being out again, I don't think Colton Jumper is going to be able to keep up with Trevor Knight. It's a 6.5-point spread, a whole touchdown between 2 5-0 teams, 2 top 10 teams. A lot of people are saying that that's a big spread, and a lot of people are picking Tennessee plus 6.5. I'm going A&M minus 6.5. I would be comfortable picking A&M minus 10 if it were at that. That's just how I feel about the Vols letting down this week.
That's a lot of points. I don't know if I'll go 10, but I do think Texas A&M covers at 6.5. And I don't expect Tennessee to get down in this football game like notoriously they have throughout this season. I think it's going to go kind of like Texas A&M, Arkansas, and Jerry World earlier.
Yeah.
The first half, very tough between Arkansas and A&M. And then all of a sudden, A&M turned on the Jets in the second half and pulled away. I think Texas A&M eventually wins. And Tennessee, it's not the end of the year because they have the lead on Florida and Georgia. But they're going to have to learn a lot about themselves traveling to College Station in an atmosphere. I think the reason why they beat Florida in the second half is because of Neyland Stadium.
Sure.
Take that away.
But you said they did the same thing in between the hedges in Georgia last year in a hostile environment, and they came back and won. So Kyle Field's going to be fun. I'm excited to witness it and be a part of that experience. But I mean, I just don't think Tennessee can afford to start that slow again.
Both have A&M?
Both have A&M covering the 6.5. All right, let's move on to the second game. Alabama, number 1 in the country, going to Arkansas, number 16. Alabama 5-0. Arkansas 4-1 with a loss to Texas A&M. It's a 14-point spread with Alabama being the favorites.
I know. We talked about this earlier in the week on the show, and I thought that Arkansas could possibly cover in this game. I don't necessarily think that they'll win, but I'm going to stick with Arkansas covering 14 points. I think that they may lose by 10, they may lose by 7, but it's a close game. They have the home field advantage, which is good.
Right.
And I think Alabama, it has shown that they have some holes in their team. Now, they're not drastic holes. They're still the best team in the country, but Ole Miss showed that you can score on them. And I think Arkansas, they're not gonna outscore Alabama by throwing the football. It's controlling the clock, having Austin Allen be efficient, which he's very pass efficient. He's the number one most pass efficient quarterback in the SEC, and running the football. They can control this game. They can get within 14 points. I'm not calling for a pig suey win, but I'm calling for a pig suey cover.
I was thinking that way earlier in the week, and because the last two games between these two teams, the one last time it was in Fayetteville was a 14-13 Alabama win, and then last year in Tuscaloosa, Arkansas had the lead at halftime, and then it kind of unraveled late in that game. I'm actually going Alabama minus 14 in this game. Why? Well, if Trevor Knight can run for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns on Arkansas, so can Jalen Hurts. and that's really what's going to be the difference in this game. Jalen Hurts is going to be running wild. Trevor Knight did it 2 weeks ago in Jerry World, so I picked Alabama minus 14. And you say everybody thinks Bama is the number one team in the country. I don't know, because I've seen a lot of analysts think that Ohio State should jump Alabama in the polls, and Nick Saban will use that and saying, hey, we got to go out here on the road and prove against a good team that we can still dominate good competition. So I think Alabama rolls minus 14.
Well, first of all, that's completely ridiculous because Ohio State has not played a damn
I'm just
soul.
saying. I'm not saying this. I'm saying other people are saying this, which means Nick Saban is going to use, and they say out there, they say you're second behind Ohio State. Auburn is minus 3 on the road at Mississippi State.
Mississippi State loses, and they do not cover. I have no
that simple.
I have no confidence in anybody in Starkville. They just don't have a good football team. Dan Mullen, you can't coach unproven talent, and they don't have any talent. They're going to struggle. I don't pick Mississippi State. I'm sorry.
I'm picking State plus 3. State to win. Gus Malzahn's in trouble. That's what I say. That's my tweet about this game, 140 characters.
Gus Malzahn has too much to lose. I don't think that he loses to Mississippi State.
I think Dan Mullen really wants to he needs to hustle this season up so he can get out of Starkville and maybe get one of these open jobs that might pop up.
Isn't that everybody in Starkville? We need to hustle this up.
Can't wait to. I'm going to school to get out of Starkville.
So I can get the hell out of here.
Yeah, so I'm picking State plus 3. All right, next game, Georgia on the road at South Carolina. The Bulldogs, a 7-point favorite in this game, could be impacted by Hurricane Matthew.
Yeah, it absolutely could. I think Georgia learned something about themselves. Last week, even into the loss, I don't think that was a debilitating loss where they can't rebound. Georgia has good players, and they had an atrocious loss to Ole Miss the week prior. They lose on the Hail Mary, but I don't think it breaks the back of the Bulldogs. I think the Bulldogs win and they cover. Jacob Eason is growing up before our eyes, and this guy is going to be a Matthew Stafford-type player here in a couple years. I think he's going to be the number 1 overall pick here in about, 2 years when he has the ability to come
2019
out.
draft?
Because he has the arm. And if you have the arm and you have some accuracy, you can learn systems. Yeah. And Jacob Eason is learning the system on the fly. So I give him a little bit of a leash there. I think that Georgia wins and Georgia covers.
I have Georgia minus 7 as well.
Yeah, I think it's the right pick.
We can't forget about the throw Jacob Eason made to take the lead with 10 seconds to go against Tennessee. Everybody talks about the Josh Dobbs, Jawan Jennings Hail Mary, but Eason, cannon of an arm, and made that play, led that drive, the whole thing. They had to go 80 yards in a minute, and they did it. So I think Georgia wins big. Georgia minus 7 in that game. Our last college football game that we'll pick is the ACC game, and it's in Miami. The last 2 games are going to be played in Miami, and they might be affected by this hurricane as well. Florida State is on the road at the U in Miami. The Hurricanes, ironically, are favored by 3.
Florida State has not been the team that we saw in the second half against Ole Miss to start the season. Something changed, and it hadn't been Dalvin Cook. He's been running the football. It's been something else. Miami's intriguing, but I think I want to pick Miami so bad because I like Brad Kaya. I like Mark Richt. I think that he's proving that you can win in a tough spot, and Miami's been a tough spot for a decade now. But I just think that Miami's a little bit phony. I can't go all in on the Hurricanes. I want them to win. I'm rooting for Miami. I hope they win. But I think this is a game that Florida State makes a statement It's something about Florida and in-state rivalries.
Anything can happen in this game. Right?
Yeah, and so I'm going to go with Florida State. I think Florida State wins.
Well, we've learned that ducks can pull trucks, and they can also swim in hurricanes. I'm going to pick the U and the Hurricanes with their duck mascot to beat Florida State Saturday night.
That's fair. I hope you're right, but I got a gut feeling that Florida State's not going to let that happen.
All right, the other game on Sunday in Miami, and this is interesting. The Titans at the Dolphins. Now, they're both 1-3 teams, but how is this field going to be impacted? Because Miami Hurricanes play on the same field as the Dolphins. And if they're playing in a hurricane on Saturday, I don't care what the actual weather is that day, the field is going to be a pig pen, right? You got to think.
Yeah, no, I think that this entire hurricane situation, some game is going to get canceled or moved. I just have this gut feeling. If the meteorologists are right, like they're always right? I think something's going to affect it.
Yeah.
And it may be the Tennessee Titans game. They may have to move it elsewhere, even though they're going to have to make a decision pretty quick. For this game, I don't think the Titans can win. I'll believe it when I see it. And their offense has problems. Their defense can keep them into some games, but they still have flaws. They struggle covering tight ends, as you saw last week against the Texans. I just don't think that the offensive philosophy is right for Marcus Mariota. And Marcus Mariota, let's be honest, is not playing like the Marcus Mariota that the Titans need. Whether it's the players, whether it's the wide receivers not running the right routes, whether it's not the running game or the offensive line, you can make up a lot of excuses. Mariota's not playing well. So I can't pick the Titans morally until I actually see that. Miami covers, Miami wins, the Titans go to 1-4.
It's the Dolphins -3.5, and that half point is just enough for me to pick the Titans +3.5, but not to win. That's just how crazy I'm going to go.
That's fair. I think that's a tough pull.
Because the Titans have been in these games, in these one-possession losses. Now, they've been by a touchdown. But for whatever reason, I'm picking the Titans plus the 3.5. If it was just +3, I'd probably go Dolphins. But that half point is all I need.
Well, history shows the Titans play well in Miami. If you rewind a couple of years ago when Zach Brown and Colin McCarthy both had pick sixes.
Yeah,
they were driving back. Jake Locker at the time, this was actually when he wasn't in a stretcher, was throwing the ball fairly well. They blew out the Dolphins that game. That was a bright and sunny game in Miami. This is not going to be the case. The one thing that the Titans can rely back on, their running game. DeMarco Murray, you run him as hard as you can, and then Derrick Henry maybe comes in and gets some tough yards. Not far-fetched. Hey, I'll believe it when I see it. The Titans haven't shown that they can do it.
Last question off the top of the head. Do the Titans have a better chance of winning a game in a hurricane in Miami or a home game?
Anything that's in Nissan Stadium,
they're probably not going to win that game.
The Titans stay away. We do have one last pick before we get out of here, and that is our mortgage pick.
Yep.
Can't forget about the mortgage pick. I'm going to go back to an oldie but a goodie, a prediction that I had the beginning of the season, and that was the Houston Cougars are going to the Final Four. They're going to make the college football playoff somehow, some way. They've got a tough game against Navy this weekend. And if you look at the spread, Navy, they're getting 17 points.
Right.
This is the first time that I've taken a big spread on a game for my mortgage pick. Houston covers.
Wow.
Wins big against the Naval Academy. Look, I'll stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance and the Star Spangled Banner any day of the week. I love the U.S. Navy, but Houston, they're going to boat race the Naval Academy.
See, boat race the Naval Academy. You didn't mean to do that, did you?
You don't know that.
I think I looked at that game, but what is Navy? Navy's different. And what happened to Houston last year? Navy beat Houston. And so it's a different type of offense. So I looked at that. I'm not going to go with Navy.
Well, that's one of the reasons why, because I think Houston,
the redemption play.
Houston is revenge.
I've picked a Friday night game before, and I'm picking a Friday night game again. I'll be watching this one on TV from some bar in College Station. I don't know where I'll be, but Clemson -16 over Boston College. Clemson rides the momentum they got after beating Louisville in that crazy game in Death Valley last weekend. And Boston College is better than they were last year. They're still not good. They have lost like 25 ACC games in a row, make it 26 or whatever the number is, and Clemson wins big. Clemson -16 for my mortgage pick of the week.
There you go. So you got Clemson. I've got Houston.
Yeah, both big spreads.
Put your mortgage on it. Put your mortgage on it.
All right, I'll be back on Monday. I'll be documenting my trip somehow in College Station, and hopefully we'll survive this weekend. Monday, catch us 8 a.m. Central Time on Periscope and Facebook Live at A to Z Sports and our Facebook page at A to Z Sports Nashville. Thanks for watching.